You know what they don't tell you about being productive, especially in business? You're gonna have to learn a lot of different things to run a business. Now, this is difficult because for the person trying to run the business, what ends up happening is you need to learn so many different things that you wear a million different hats. And then, as I'm learning, when you end up having a team be built, you can't actually transfer one of the most important things that happens inside of your own mind. And that is the way that you think. Recently, I was working on a problem with a team that I really was happy with a new tool that's come out that's allowed for a solution to occur. And while this tool is amazing, it is only usable as often as the people in the team think of the way that it could work in the different content I create for my channel, podcast, YouTube, newsletter. But the thing is, while the tool is great, the thought process needs to get extracted outside of my head and go into the different conversations that I have with team members, and then they need to think like me. So I've thought about this from a second brain standpoint. And when it comes to building a second brain, I've actually started using the tool Loom to consistently record looms of myself in my thought process and share them out with members of my team. Now, this may seem weird that I'm just like video and audio journaling the different processes and decisions that I make on a daily basis. But if I can get my team members to start to think like me a little bit more, then when it comes to creative solutions, they can come up with stuff. Because truth of the matter is, there are so many different opportunities for your team to shine, but if they don't think like you, then they sort of become a cog in a machine, even at a small team level. And while standard operating procedures are great, going based off of values and getting it so that the value of the company is removing the person who is at the top from the process should be number one. But the problem is it's difficult to extract that knowledge and show people how you think. So that's why I've been consistently telling people how I think through these looms, through these audio journals, and through these different pieces of internal content that allow for others to hear my thoughts as they come out of my head. Now, I love the people working on my team. It's actually been a very fulfilling time working at this. But it gets hard when you end up having more and more people, and then you have to make sure that the management levels of a team, right? Say, for example, the company scaled large, you then have to make sure the management levels of the team align with the vision and the thought process of the higher level people. And that's not always going to be the case. So I'm trying to implement standards and values in my company that then align with the different stuff that's going on inside of the different departments that exist. You produce content and you might be like, well, that's pretty simple. And no, it's not, because, for example, if somebody were to think like me, from my opinion, there would be a minimal amount of rework needed on my end if we could just have, some edits, get a little bit more fixed with this tool that I'm talking about that I really like. And I don't blame anybody, just I have this level of creative thinking, and I believe removing yourself more and more from the business just becomes harder and harder and harder, and then gets much easier once you have the right people in place and you have the right comms in place to then extract that information from you consistently and effectively without needing to actually ask you. I'm such a huge fan of Leila Hormozi because she talks about this in a lot of the different content she produces, but it's so important to basically take what you're doing and produce on a whole nother level through delegation to people who are in line with your values. And for me, my values are producing great content, being creative, being consistent, and being effective in our approach. Those are not easy things to do, but they are totally possible to be done. You just have to put the right systems in place in order to make that happen. Shout out to my team members for being great. I got to do a better job of extracting the information in my head so you can then extrapolate that into your own thinking and thought process. Thanks as always, and I'll see you in the next one.